Hello, and welcome back to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. This is Geek Out number 92. It is going to be a spoiler-filled, you've been warned, live book discussion of Life Reset Salvation, which is book 6 in the New Era Online series by Shemer Kuznits, narrated by Jeff Hayes, featuring Annie Ellicott and uh, Lauren Catherine Winkle. And before you ask, yes, and you're welcome. The idea was I took some creative freedoms, but I tried to moving things on camera, recreate the cover. So we've got our goblin, Oren, a green staff instead of a blue one. He's casting his dark spells. And then the only wings that I ended up having were Buzz Lightyear. So yeah, we got our Outriders as our Buzz Lightyears. Also able to kind of rotate around, which I thought was pretty snazzy. And then, of course, we've got our purple Vic cloak, which I guess is almost blue for some reason. So that's why my camera's freaking out there. And then I also tried to do the tie shindig, which is probably the only tie I'll ever wear. Spells out goblin. Anyway,
Why would you
so
want to wear another tie anyway? I mean, if you have to wear a tie, and just for the record, Pete completely surprised me last time with the glasses and being on point. And if you go back and rewatch, we kind of joked about him making it a thing. So way to take it to the next level, Pete.
yeah, I'm incorporating the theme.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Pete puts on the nice dress shirt, and then I go casual. So
Contrast.
there we
That's
go.
what
There we
makes
go.
things work.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll go with
Yeah.
that.
We'll roll with that. And just because we're so awesome at forgetting it, and because you haven't redone it yet, I do enjoy the intro beats that you have going on. Yeah.
Yep. So, oh my, this book is amazing. Thank you, Shemer Kuznits, for all that you have done. I only have two little things that I was a little disappointed about, but we'll get into those a little later. Phenomenal job for the sound booth theater team. It was emotional, and we need to create a subgenre of spoiler warnings, but main character's
Yes.
dead, story's over.
Yes.
Because the feels of this one for main character's dead, story's over, just oh man, was so passionate, so well done. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, the feels throughout this whole book. It was an emotional roller coaster. We laughed, we cried, we, just bawled our eyes out at the ending there with all the feels and emotions. Rest in peace, Fugly, like all hail our green overlord, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, just like quick shout out for ourselves. Life Reset 1 for us was number 8.
I was
And
gonna say it
we're
was in the single digits.
now on number 2. The first 3 books wrap up really well as a trilogy, and then we were like blown away when book 4 came out, which was Geek Out number 36. And yeah, I know it's been out for a while, but Sound Booth Theater seems pretty busy, so it takes them a little bit to get it out. But
Well,
it's at the
they do a lot. Like, there's a big
it's a
difference
whole production
between a
number.
single
Sure.
narrator and getting multiple casting, as well
Yep.
as oh, I'm trying to think of their sound guy. something Mahmood. I remember it being an odd name, which sorry for forgetting or butchering, but thank you for all that you do.
Yes.
Um, yeah,
Yes. Amazing performance. I think you said it in at the end of the last stream as we were talking about it. Like, this is one of the books that you just have to pick up in the audio production because Sound Booth Theater does such an amazing
yeah.
job. I've actually gone through and, like, when there are sales on Audible, I will search to see what Sound Booth Theater productions are on the sale, and then, like, look to see if it's something I'll be interested in, because even if the story isn't amazing and hooks me, just like the performance in my ears, even at 2 to 3x speed, is just incredible and a whole lot of fun. So let's see, like books 4 and 5 essentially take place, what, like a little over a day, because we're just going at such incredible speeds in game, right? What was it, like 20, 30x?
I think we're at 28 time dilation.
Yeah. Yeah. So for every 28 minutes in game, 1 minute goes outside of the game, right?
Yeah.
And they we were constantly reminded of that when he comes out of the game and everything. And, he kind of gets that reality check there. But at the end, again, spoilers, and we'll bounce all over the place. And I really want to spend time on the ending for just wrapping up such an amazing series.
Which
But
White Thatch commented, it's hard to get a good ending, but Shemer did a really good job, and I would have to agree.
yes,
Um,
yes.
it was the kind of ending where there were 5 or 6 differing continuation or side series or completely original series that could have came of it, and
Hmm.
I am excited to see where it goes. Something not exactly ending related, but the fact that, oh, I forget the player's name, but the ATV or whatever to automatic telepathy to do stuff with her mind and scanning it and creating a new product. Like, I could very easily see, like, I'm excited for some of the AR stuff, and
Hmm.
it gets tricky because we're getting spoiled with our OLED displays and how black is actually black instead of LCDs where black is lit black so it doesn't actually look black. Anyway, I'm excited for that. That could do a whole spin-off arc of them coming out and exploring the technology there. Um, yeah.
Yeah, great point, White Thatch. White Thatch says, I love how he handled VR versus reality and how a personality could change. Um, yeah,
That's sorry, the other side of it. And all of like some of my top ones, Sword Art Online is an anime, but for example, they always tend to incorporate medical stuff into it. And the fact that, yes, the story was epic and awesome, it did have detrimental or lingering effects of being influenced by the game and, you know, being pinged with different signals to become a goblin and adopt the persona.
yeah, yeah.
Dot
Dot
hack
Hack.
was another
Yes,
good one.
another classic. Dot Hack was so ahead of its time.
It really was.
Like the OG of lit RPG and all that fun stuff. Um, yeah, it's one of the things I like about, like, sci-fi, which lit RPG kind of falls into, is like the potential there and some of the questions we have to ask ourselves as technology starts to get to this point is like the impact it has on people, right? And we get to see it with Oren, because he pretty much lives as a goblin, right? Like, he embodies that persona, And we've talked
Well,
about it
yeah.
before on the streams where I remember, gosh, over a decade ago, just like binging hardcore, some serious World of Warcraft days where, putting in 16-hour days to where all of a sudden you go and you go out into the real world and that big burning orb in the sky, blinds you and you try to, cast your shield or something or blink away and look for your HUD display, and all of a sudden you're just kind of like disjointed, like, wait a minute, I'm not, an orc or tauren or whatever, or a goblin overlord. I am, this flesh suit with not so awesome powers. Time to go back and grind some more.
Yeah, and the other big, I guess, medical advancement that was exciting potential, throughout the story was with David, not the one, Tenenbaum,
Mhm.
or David Tenenbaum, David, not the one, and how his form of autism, he was actually faster in processing than everybody else, which is very similar and essentially the whole, I assume, I don't know, the whole premise of how the GAI and everything else came to be. So
Mhm.
that is exciting.
Mhm.
And we do it a bit with the speeding up and slowing down listening speeds or watching videos or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it to synchronize time dilations with people
Yes.
could be
Yes.
very.
Yes. Tell us more about Earth Force, White Thatch. I
Yeah,
think
we
you
should
mentioned it
have
in a
looked into
previous
his
stream.
second series.
Um,
There are, like I said, at least 5 or 6 different ones he could spin off. It could be with the AVT or the telepathy. It could be with continuing. He could do a military spin off of all the data they collected from all the, uh, just different connections and big wigs and all the information that they got.
hey, appreciate you hanging out with us, Luke. Luke wants to know, what speed are you guys listening at?
So first pass, I typically do a 2 to 2.5. After first pass, I sit about 3. Um,
Pretty similar. It depends a bit on the narrator for me, but I typically will listen to it at 2.5 first pass, and then 3 to 3.5. I'll push it at 3.5 if it's a book that I'm really familiar with, and it also depends a bit on what else I'm processing around me. If I'm doing just like some like auto run type chores or whatever, I'll play with it on the higher end. Um,
well,
yeah.
this is also one of those books that I ran into a couple moments where I had to slow it down and really appreciate the music background. And yet again, like this book just does so well for a lot of like sim- simple things. For
Hmm.
example, when his boss ability triggers and he's pushed into the ground and he's trying to get underneath the crystal dragon, and you get the sound of the explosion and the coins and other simple stuff like that when he's going up against Rhinor, or not Rhinor, the champion, where he gets caught in the pitfall, and we get the epic, final boss battle music going on, or just like the musical number at the very end
Yes.
where we get all those feels.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
it
like,
was, yeah.
and that's what's so beautifully done. Like they do that in most major pictures, right? Like you get the thematic, big, full of emotion moments where you're just like, oh, the feels. And then like with this, with Oren, and we had kind of like our final stand moment, like I'll hold the pass while you guys all get through. Um, and then like, oh man. Um, what's is it, Ragnarok or whatnot? Or used to be our dwarf eventually becomes a drone Ant-Man. Like,
that guy.
just the journey with him from like 4, where he was just like, even all the way back to book 1, just like a constant pain in our side. And then like the first thing he asks when he comes out, 40 something year old man, prison tattoos, like all this stuff, like, where's Fugly at? Right? Like,
Yeah.
Ragnar. Thanks, Luke. Ragnar. Just, the feels. But I mean, if there's going to be an afterlife, like, who wouldn't want to be a green overlord? It's good to be chief, right? So real quick, White Thatch got back to my question in regards to Earth Force, another one of Shemer Kuznits' series that we haven't picked up yet. I need to add it to my Audible wish list. He said sci-fi fantasy tech as the source for magic.
Okay.
So
I've seen that done well with Chris Fox, his Major Tech Chronicles.
us too, there, White Thatch, when he says, when Guy shows up and his daughter dies, I almost lost it. Like the build up to the final couple scenes there. But I mean, good old Vic, right? Like, oh man, I owe you. So then he starts going like 5 words or whatever, right? Like
4. Yeah.
4. You have any of those fun quotes pulled up, Pete? I know you pulled a couple of them. I think YouTube
I have that
penalizes us the first 30 minutes if we go too much on the adult filter.
So,
but yeah, share some of your quotes before we forget.
From the book, and it is used for review purposes. And for example,
please don't cancel us.
Just a comical moment.
I read some of the information before it all went kablooey, Vic said. The force of the detonation is proportional to the amount of matter the singularity absorbed. You might want to be careful with it in the future. It's a powerful weapon, I'll give you that. But you can't use it if you have allies around. If you consider a drilling arrow to have a name addressed to it, and a dire ball as to whom it may concern, that thing is more like, listen up, bitches.
Beep.
You're all dead. I got the message.
So I just enjoy the Vic humor behind it, and getting a new spell and figuring out more ingenuity behind it as a way to conveniently, do more.
And like, like Vic, he can you have a wittier sidekick than him? I think you were talking previous books, like now for lit RPGs, you just feel the need to have that witty, snarky sidekick.
I was going to say, I enjoy the comic relief. The Land has Scion, Ascend Online kind of has the whole cast. They're all pretty, back and forth camaraderie. Drawing blanks. Yeah, most of them have convenient comic reliefs throughout them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think this is the part that got me.
Enjoy this moment for as long as you wish, Oren. And when you tire of resting, the universe will be open for you to explore.
Yeah, right there at the end, beautiful musical number. And that was Guy saying, I'm indebted to you, but he's essentially Guy. Like, he has the ability to see. He's at 100%. He's fully integrated. He's dead, but not dead. Which I said earlier, there needs to be a whole subgenre hidden of main characters dead, stories over.
Yep, just kidding. Real quick, when Guy is going through and talking about how he manipulated him and trapped him in the game, like, he comes clean saying, hey,
I could have ejected you.
Yeah,
I knew
yeah.
Shiva
When you
was going
got
to be an
turned to a
uprising.
goblin, I could have ejected you.
That
So,
was
like,
beautifully
that was the
done.
beginning of the end of how now he's dead. But
Yeah.
he kind of checks himself and he's like, I'm more curious than I am angry. Do you think that's just where he is mentally, or do you think that's partially because he's no longer a meat suit? Right. So there's not
I feel like
like
getting the extra processing
chemical.
power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I
Because he doesn't get like the adrenaline spikes or, like all that stuff anymore when he was in a meat suit.
well, at the same time, I felt like it was just a relief because he
Mhm.
had already all the buildup of sacrificing himself and wanting to get things to go to where they needed to be
Right.
and saving everybody. So now that that's not hanging over his head, now that, he
Right.
doesn't have to worry about going back and everything else, like,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
because
And he
we also
saved the
get to
day.
see Guy when he goes back to the VI pool and he's talking to him, and it's like, or Vic says, whoa, a show of compassion. And now I forget what it is. And then Guy's like, yeah, that's another way I've evolved.
White Thatch hit that nail on the head there. Guy slash Shiva. So like he absorbed part of the fragments of Shiva. So he's now like a hybrid entity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Dad.
Yeah.
Sorry we tried to kill you and everything or overthrow you and everything, and he just laughs it off.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's always hard coming to the end of a series and wrapping it up so well. I get really frustrated when, like, it's all sunshine and rainbows. So here, like, Oren does die, but he doesn't die. I have a feeling we'll see him more, even though, like, the new life reset stories, quote unquote, in Neo won't be of him, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see more of him now, especially on the monster side as he kind of like takes over. Not to mention, oh gosh, brain fart. What was the dark god's name that we all
Annihilator.
hail? Annihilator. Yes.
So, yeah,
yes. Like he's still out there roaming the world, an unshackled god, where all the other ones got eliminated before the storyline even begins. Yes. I would love to see that White Thatch.
This is all theory crafting, but essentially, oh, here we go. I think I actually have this one.
One, just like any other player. What? Hananel asked in disgust. You mean to say we'll have to go through a life reset? To actually work, toil, bleed, and do endless fetch quests for the lousy privilege of acquiring peasant armor? Yes. Oh, hell yeah! Where do I sign?
I'm going to play a cleric necromancer.
You can't be both a cleric and a necromancer.
Anyway, but yeah, that could be a whole spin-off of the VIs and whatnot, and them going through it, and then we also get to see, the singing guy, the guy who wants to be the minstrel, who comes back and he's in his potato form from book 4.
Yes.
4? Yeah, a beautiful musical number, book 4, where he comes back as a potato with the wires hanging out of it, and he essentially tries to do it, and he's like, yeah, this isn't working. Hey, I've created a new song for you, Annihilator. So
yes,
we still have Annihilator hanging over everybody's head.
Yes.
But it would be the VIs and them being able to, do their own thing.
There's so much potential there, right? Because they also talk about how they're probably going to keep Neo closed off, but they're not going to turn it off because of all the potential
but
there.
how easy
So
would it be for them to simply set it up like a Twitch thing or whatever? Like we
yes.
literally had people being narrators and depicting stuff, and
Mhm.
even if they go at meat processor speed, we could still have every potential character be their own live streamer and see it, as well as the military's not going to give this up. The fact
Yes.
that they had the David Tenenbaum thing where they're able to help people with disabilities and sell it
Mhm.
and market it that way, and then
Mhm.
being able to just make more, even if they don't put people into it. Yeah, and I could easily see, Lyrian,
Lyrian Raskler?
or yeah,
That's
I don't know
Ascend.
where that one came from. I could very easily see
Oren?
Oren. Yeah,
All hail our
we'll go
green
with that.
overlord.
Oren essentially, getting people to come back in or somehow dealing with them.
That's what I hope we get to see a little bit more of. Like in the epilogue, we get we get to see up to 2 days afterwards. No, longer than that, because a funeral takes place after the
They get
lawyer
free. Yeah.
comes through, and they're all like, what about our comrade in arms, et cetera, et cetera. And we get to see that, even though it was only 4 weeks in real time, like the kids look so much older if you look in their eyes, because they live that life, being enslaved. But our whole scene with Oren took place in like fractions of a nanosecond, right? So like he could live full lifetimes before he even gets to his freaking funeral. So like he could be, subjective time literally thousands of years old
That's
by the
another
time
one
he
of
gets to see
the
his own funeral.
interesting things, because I could very easily see this be a twist on the whole Matrix thing, where the BIs have all of the TV and the lore, and they know about everything because Vic's making all the puns and the jokes and the references. So as far as Oren's concerned, like he can still live that life. It's just what
Please,
is
why would
reality?
you live that life when you could
No,
be
but with the being able to
Goblin and
get the
Dr.
implants.
Octopus's love child with your,
But follow me here. Being
Okay,
able to
okay.
get those implants where then you can maneuver things with your mind. If Oren can already see the outside world through the stream, why can't he just, be all like, "Ooh, I'm a ghost, ooh," and then have,
pull a whole Vic right there in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry, there's a lot more good stuff.
There's so
Shemer,
much good stuff.
Two things that are personal negatives that kind of hurt my soul a little. Gooba didn't get a mention from our original cohort, who we started off with book 1. Beck has been, upgraded to priest. He joined us on our raid going out. Even Bob got a mention because it was part of the whole ant guy. And we got a nod to him, and you had so many points that every time you like set it up as if you're about to talk about Gooba, when the cook ended up switching what we're getting so that we could do the seasoned fish dish. Like that was her original thing when we saved Oren after he got revived and Kuzai was torturing him, and Racia's like, oh yeah, it's a bunch of alchemy stuff. And I was like, oh well, here comes Gooba, she's probably got some epic hut, and this is gonna save our bacon. And we didn't get it. It's like,
what happened to our favorite Gilf?
But I wish she got a nod. So
yeah, it kind of makes you wonder. That happens a couple times in lit RPG series. Like, is that becoming one of those tropes, or do we just get obsessions with random side characters? Because Dakota did it with Evan, and then now
Yes,
Goomba falls out. Like
it's
we need
probably
to
a personal
have.
preference, and that's where, like
Mm,
Brandon says, write every scene as if it's going to be somebody's favorite. And for me, I typically think of it as like the old school fantasy or like a D&D campaign where, you follow one guy and then he meets the next person in the tavern and then he meets the
mhm,
next person, out in the woods as he's getting attacked. And then the
mhm.
next one, sprawling the side of a mountain and we like assemble our team. We didn't do that because this takes very much a RTS or real-time strategy orientation versus a, party of 5 or 6. So yeah, but everybody else got a mention, and
It's true. It's
I
true.
was a little disappointed Gooba didn't get a mention.
Yeah. Okay, so that was one. You said two.
So the second one is yet again in book one, we had all of the stockpiles of Oren's
That's
weapons and
right.
fail safes, and we got to see um what's the squad's name?
Mob Squad.
The mob squad find the one in the main
Yeah.
capital, but we went past the capital to get to the higher level zone, which at the time of being demoted to a goblin, Lyrian was past. Not Lyrian,
Hmm.
Oren was past. And I was
Somebody's got to
expecting
send
that
on
to
the
be
mine.
what helped us save our bacon, was to find some of the caches and to either
Yeah.
break them down or to sell them off. And instead, we went with the random magic under the ground that then we get hit into, which makes a lot
I
of sense
kind of.
for.
Oh, I was going to just. Sorry to interrupt. I completely spaced that until you were talking about that before the live stream. But that's one of our big obstacles in our plot is there were several times where we're short on gold, right? And then thank goodness we come across a dragon with all the mana leeches, and there's all that gold that we can add to our inventory. But um, yeah, like all those treasure troves, he could have been sending out his players on quests to get that stuff done, right? Like reward them with XP. Hey, go retrieve this. Help us build up our surplus to train up troops. So before I forget, Pete, I have to ask you just about every book. How'd you feel about the combat? Was there
I
enough combat there?
It was a different flavor of combat. There was a lot of combat. We did get at least like 3, one-on-one epic fight scenes, so that was good. The mood music really sold it for me, and
Mm-hmm.
then it was more RTS-esque, where kind of like White Thatch was saying here, that he was cheesing his way through the high level zones, and that's where a lot of games do it differently. At first, I was like, "There's no way it's not going to happen," but then with the respawning and some of the other things helping out, like it was feasible, and that's where if I didn't have the rest of the series, it would have been a little weird. For example, when they
Mm-hmm.
go to take over the capital and they just parley, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But with
Yeah.
everything else going on and the VI, some of the VIs rooting for him,
Mm-hmm.
and that they are the main big capital, it made sense to try to appease them and to do other stuff, and that all made sense. Um,
So I appreciate you helping us clarify there, White Thatch. White Thatch said, I thought the questing got nerfed for him. So originally,
or he lost
since
the
he was
quest giver
both,
skill.
yeah, he
Yeah,
couldn't
but
take
he
points from the game and gift it just out of nowhere, but he could convert his energy points into experience for other players and reward them that way, just like he did
well,
with the
yeah,
bonus layer, right?
yeah.
Where it's like, hey, help out the clan, I'll convert this. So it wasn't an unlimited resource anymore, but you could still pull from the city, town, goblin, empire, energy
I
points?
think we hit rank 5 town
Okay.
city. I don't know.
Yeah. I enjoyed the full skirmishes. So like we got to see some of like the single player combat with Oren, our goblin chief, and then we got to see like the full scale army versus army. And I wish we got to see more of kind of the unique abilities that came through, like when we had our army strategist and he's just like, oh man, like
Or
they need to get here
die kind
quicker.
of elements for interpreting it.
Yeah. And then just like all of a sudden he got this new ability unlocked and he felt like he could summon them faster, and he like reaches out and just like speeds them up to do some of that to get there in time. Like I wish we got to see more of that stuff, right? Like the unique abilities that unlocked. They weren't quite like game breaking, and that was something
Or
that
well, that's where I I wrote that off as it was part of the first arc because books 1 through 4 before we end up actually getting Orin out and Shiva made
1 through 3.
it 1 through 3, it was really more oriented that way. And I guess we
Mm,
still do it when he creates his singularity and so on. But in the
yes.
second one or the second arc, I felt it wasn't as prominent.
Hmm.
Real quick before we miss it here, Luke Nash asks if you guys have read the Awaken online. In the newest one, they started to tease the concept of people being really old in perceived time. We have not gotten through the Awaken online. We picked it up on sale. It is on the list. That
There's too
is
many good books on the
exciting.
list. Yeah.
And so it's not really, I guess for me, a new concept because you meet some of those people and in my own words, you feel like they have an old soul or someone who is wise beyond their years, so to speak, where they just get certain concepts better or quicker. And then you meet some very young souls where it doesn't matter their actual, biological fleshy meat suit stuff. It's all how they interpret and how they go through life and the dramatic
I've lived
feels.
thousands of lives. They may have
Yeah.
been virtual video game lives or audiobook lives, but thousands of lives. Sorry, carry on.
Into other stuff that was interesting. So I felt like David was going to be doing more for us.
I'm with you.
I like his whole okay, so first off, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This was book 1, like right at the beginning when we find out about the race change scroll and we're sitting down with Tao,
Mhm,
our buddy who is a game developer for the company
mhm.
who runs this, and he mentions that David gets trapped in the game and essentially he was somewhat responsive outside the game prior, and then once he gets in there he just wants to sit down and has found a way to gather XP from nothing. So I understand due to the autism or other mental reasoning that he's not a fighter, but I also that's where I would have seen an exploit, so to speak, where he's just
Mhm.
able to pull XP from thin air and do other stuff. I'm kind of glad it did get written in because it would have been very back and forth s, and it would have broken the ending because with the ending
Yeah,
of
I think
him doing
he
those kind of things and it taxing Oren and yeah.
I think he would have the potential to break a lot of stuff and be too overpowered, right? So we can kind of write him off as the fact that Oren was literally the first person he had a real conversation with. And I think that they set it up to where he couldn't kind of like cheat like that anymore, because it wasn't he like a level 1 when they found him?
I
Because like everything
don't know
got
if
reset with Shiva.
they gave him a level. I knew he was like in basic gear. He wasn't like any armor or whatnot.
This is what I'm talking about here. White Thatch. Imagine using Neo as a school for real life, some 13-year-old spending 2 years IRL in-game learning at 28x speed. Not to mention, on top of that, having like skills and abilities downloaded into your brain. Like, I think when we get the technology there, not only frame jacking, but just like think about the experiential learning, like things that are more risky, have like the safety there. That way you can't really physically get hurt, learn things quicker, get access to everything.
Well, for me, in regards to learning, it's kind of a forward backwards thing.
You
Due
need to get
to
that on a
my
shirt.
dyslexia, I used to think LMNOP was one letter because it was said so quick, and they need to separate those. Like for future alphabets, LMNOP just needs to be either enunciated LMNOP or split up. So yeah.
I
But
thought
on
with
the other hand,
dyslexia,
like,
it was like MPLC.
yeah, dyslexia is flipping stuff around, but it was more just like trying to process it. Yeah, it was always
Yeah.
in the song, and it was always, smashed together.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this becoming more mainstream. I'm optimistic
Hang
in our
glide.
lifetime.
I want to
Yeah,
check out
get your
that
little.
squirrel suit.
That's where I was going to go. Like, put on a squirrel suit and just like fly around and everything. Yes, please. Yes, please. One of the things I didn't see here, and maybe we'll see it like in the next series. So, like, when you're in VR, right? Like, you have people, they're like different physical sizes. And I could see that, like, being in game, there might be some mechanics there to help you deal and compensate. But like, imagine being a goblin and being maybe like 2/3 your height. Your legs are 2/3 your height. So you get used to maneuvering and moving like that. And then coming out of game and having like a larger body and frame. Like you see kids where like they go through weird growth spurts and they're not quite used to their body and the awkwardness.
So I think the one that does best nodding at that would have to be Log Horizon, where one of the characters is, I guess,
Yes.
5 something, 6 something,
Yes.
and in reality she's
Another
like
great anime you
almost a
guys should check
midget or
out.
like 4 something, and
Mhm.
there's
My lord, Shiro.
yeah, ends up giving her a potion to alter her specs.
So
And
how underwhelming was season 3 for you so far of Log Horizon? Just saying. We waited a while for it.
too much political maneuvering. Interesting concept between realms. I
So you
haven't had a
guys,
single fight scene. I do absolutely love all of the shing, all the
yeah.
glasses push-ups. I think I have a folder of all of those, but yeah. Anyway,
Just so you guys know, Peter and I are novice aspiring writers. We need to get more time to it. But like when it comes to the stories, when you go back and reread it, I will most likely be doing all the political intrigue and undertones, and Pete is going to be doing all the, well, not all,
combat.
most of the combat and snarky sidekick banter.
Yeah.
Yes, another epic.
Overlord is definitely up there.
Yes, that's a season 3. I really, really want, and I'm actually tempted to go and read the light novels, especially after like all the epic web serials that have come out, like He Who Fights with Monsters and stuff like that. Anyway, we digress. It's hard enough getting in all the love on the current books.
Let alone Divergent.
Yeah. Peter and I are just like suckers for good stories, and there's a lot of really good stories in anime. And is it manga or manga?
Tomato.
Is it data or data?
Well, apparently it's not SATA, because I said SATA, and they're like, what the hell is that? Like SATA?
Route?
And I was like, doesn't the A make the A talk
GIF
louder?
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, so the Annihilator boon was beautifully done as well, where he's like, oh, how do you defeat a god? With your own god. Yeah. And I was like, just kidding. This didn't work out at all. What do you mean I already have a way to summon you? And then that's what saves our bacon. I do understand that he's been,
Did we summon him?
Yeah. Yes. So
wait, what?
That's when we're talking to the ant guy, and we're like, we have that whole deep bro moment where we're like, "Are you still my enemy?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he's like,
right, when he threatened,
she just needs to get a cut.
Yeah. Okay,
and then we go and we pull aggro for the two, the two. VI Outriders, and then the cut happens, and that's when Oren cranks up his clock speed, and Annihilator annihilates them.
Yes. White Thatch has the $1 million idea. He says, here's one for you, Carl. Imagine using Neo just to listen to all the books on your TBR. So that would be 28x speed times our 2 to 3x speed listening times all the epic awesomeness. And yes please,
that's one of those like weird emotions I haven't quite found out yet. The satisfaction of finishing a series and it just being beautifully written like this, it fills me with joy, but it also leaves a void because it's over.
It's called a book hangover.
And now I know I'm going to find others, but it's not going to be the same.
It's not.
So
it's not. You'll still have that void. But you know what? You get enough of those voids, and you too someday can cast your own dire ball. So, getting closer and closer to the finish line here on when we typically try to wrap up this stream. Some call it a podcast, others call it a Geek Out. I'm satisfied. Like, it was so well done, wrapped up. The feels were there. Go ahead.
A lot of the things that I felt didn't really fit for the game world totally made sense with everything else you had going on with the VIs and with Shiva and with everything else going on. And of course, I was super like, really, you're just going to do that? You're going to give Oren his reward of the big red button for 10 minutes to amp up all his stuff, and then because there's a question on whether or not it's going to work, you're going to cheat and change it to 10 seconds versus 10 minutes. And then, that pushes Oren over the edge, which ends up, really killing him. It was sad, but I'm more excited to see what, the new Oren is capable of, as well as if he takes a similar turn to Bob. He's not separating or von Neumann probing, but he is going to be absorbing more and more.
Yeah. I'm pumped. I am looking forward to hanging out and checking out his other series, like White Thatch recommended, his Space Force. After this stream. I'm going to go ahead. One of the great things about having a dedicated Geek on my sleeve Gmail is now I can sign up for all the author newsletters and watch this stuff come through. Peter doesn't do emails. You want something, you gotta send somebody snail mail to call him. Actually, you know what? Forget all that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Earth
thank you.
Force.
Earth Force. Did I say Space Force?
You did.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's there might be a lawsuit in my future. I think that's trademarked. We can't use that. Thank you. Earth Force. Check out that series. But long story short, Shemer Kuznits has a newsletter, and
he does Patreon stuff too.
He does Patreon stuff too, but I'm shamelessly going to be throwing a affiliate link for his newsletter down below. That way we can get merch to show off on the channel. I think it's something like 25 of you guys sign up for his newsletter. Another great way to support the author. And we get a cool Oren Green Overlord Goblin Chief mug that Peter and I will both try to drink coffee out of at the same time. So
I have quite the collection of mugs.
Good. I will gladly
that's
call.
Kind of like my thing. I think every trip outside to the real world, I collect a mug. So
that explains why you have about 42 mugs, because that's about as often as you go out into the real world in your adult life.
Yep.
So yes.
Sorry. So we were talking concepts. We talked about the ABT or the telepathy thing would be an amazing spinoff. We talked about the VIs doing a life reset, which ironically enough, you couldn't call it a life reset. That would be very intriguing to see their creative solution. And yes, did good full circle.
I was listening to that. I'm like, oh, Peter's going to be so happy. Like they brought it back.
Oh yeah, he did a great job bringing it back for.
He starts out with a life reset as a goblin.
And then I want to see Oren. And now that he doesn't have all the pressures and he doesn't have to build up that like him.
That's a Dakota Kraut worthy joke right there. So White Thatch says,
very muggy in your house. Yes. Well played.
I approve. Well played, good sir. Yes. Another great reason why you guys should read, and especially read lit RPGs. It takes your dad jokes to the next level. That they're so well done. Like most of the people in my life, I don't even get a chuckle anymore. I just get a groan. I'm like, yes. That's how you know your puns are on point. They just dead eye you, or they just groan like, really? And you're just like, yeah.
So,
sorry. Carry on.
I could see a series for Oren, just being Oren and hanging out with Tika and Lyrian. Or wait, that's not right. What's his daughter's name? Lyrian? Maybe that's why I kept. Anyway, the prophesied child, and see that be a series. I could also see him becoming Guy / Shiva, and him doing his own
or the
stuff,
little G,
or the little G. I could see Wreck-It Ralph-esque, where he goes through and we get kind of an amalgamation of everything, where the AIs the VIs start off playing their game as if they're level 1. Oren is looking at the real world, feeling the longing and the pang of, I no longer have this. And then Allie's ABT or whatever to telepathy to other things. And then they kind of come out and, robots taking over the world kind of thing, need giant mech suits, into guy down. I have an itch on my forehead, into other things going on and gone forever. All right. Trying to think of other series we could make of it.
I think he said that
we could do the whole like military group because we had all the lawyers and all the military stuff,
Yes.
and the fact that they took the deep scan of Oren's brain to create the other thing, and
They could use
they
his
are gonna
deep
close
scan.
it off. But are they really? It's
What
more.
what
It's
if they
kind of
take Oren's scan and use him as a
to
new
fight him.
guy? No,
Oh,
use him as a new guy to power a new game system.
yeah. And then he Wreck-It Ralphs it and comes to the other world and is like, there can be
Yes.
only one,
Yes. Yes.
or
There's so much
whatever.
fun stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Let-
potential.
Show your favorite green overlord some love in the comments below. Love to keep geeking out with you guys, fan theory crafting in our comments, or catch us on our Discord, geeking out 24/7. Really appreciate those of you who hang out with us in the live stream, and those of you that watch this after the fact. I love coming back and reading comments. We've been doing this over a year now, and seeing people pick up the book, watch our archived live streams, and then like contribute to the conversation afterwards, and keep coming back to it all. A lot of projects coming up in the future that we're trying to get to, including doing some like full series wrap-ups. So we definitely want to get that going for Life Reset, since it's one of like our original Geek Outs. So much fun. But with that in mind,
Oh, yeah. So Sunday, the next Sunday of which is in chronological order, we'll say,
Sure.
August 15th, A Blood of Kings, which is book 2 of The Shattered Region by Bryce O'Connor and Luke Chimilenko. This is not a lit RPG.
You do this all the time, Pete. The Shattered Reigns.
Shattered Reigns.
Reigns. Yeah, all good.
Okay.
All good. Dyslexia. Bear with us, guys.
So Bryce O'Connor, we found out through the first book in the series of collaboration. We started going through his Wings of War series. You can definitely, this book feels like a Bryce O'Connor book in regards to it's very epic fantasy oriented, and the magic for me, I like all the magic up front and to be pretty in stats and stuff, but it's not. It's very long-winded, but yeah, this is
how I get
there's
Peter
so much
to
build up.
do epic fantasy with me. Like, epic fantasy is how I developed a passion for reading and audiobooks. You get a couple lit RPG authors to come together and write an epic fantasy, and then you hook the rest of them. So yes, it's super awesome story. It's a take on trying to think of the best way to put this. Pretty much what, like a rogue king / royal blood, and kind of like the evil or overlord trying to take over the world, throw in a bit of dragons, throw in a bit of kung fu and elves.
I'm trying to think of a good series that does it, but it's essentially a shattered region or reigns where the world used to be epic, and then humans done messed it up. And
So
now we need to step up our game to be viable and
make sure to recycle people.
there's a lot of everything. I can't say these things because I care about you guys and I want to get your feels, but
yes.
I highly recommend it. Awesome, good stuff. And then the Sunday after that, we are going back to Viridian Gate Online, the Imperial Legion, Space. Trying to remember. I want to say book 4.
I believe we're on book 4 now. And
Book
just
4?
quick shout out. We are not graphic designers. Like if you look back at some of our old thumbnails, but like Pete, you really killed it on that one. Like that is some
I felt like
epicness.
I had the hand pretty solid.
Yeah.
I tried to snag the hammer off the cover and it didn't work, but I like the one I ended up with. Anyway,
You done
James A.
good.
Hunter,
Mhm.
he is a monster in the best
In a
kind
good
of
way.
Yeah. So the premise of Radiant Gate Online, for those who don't know it, is the apocalypse is upon us. We are about to be nothing but space dust. So we're able to essentially have a team of developers have a chance of surviving the apocalypse by downloading your brain due to nanites going through your blood system and your brain and everything, and mapping out your consciousness, making you
Kind of like the way they did with Oren, almost. Right? In this book. We could say that.
Kind of. Yeah. And then it turns out that when you create it, you have opportunities to add in things, but the saving grace of giant gods that will destroy us is there
like
were
cookies?
a lot of elements from several different countries, and they don't play well together. This book does a good job pulling at your humanity strings. Like, is it right to become an emperor because this is yours and you made it? Or is it
Do
right
the ends justify the
to,
means?
yeah, and do what's right because it's right. Along with, I thoroughly enjoy the class kit. Why James A. Hunter is a monster in the best kind of ways is he does collaboration events or collaboration books like it's his job, because it is.
Is that
And
like
he
the
does
Thunderdome?
a spin-off of every one of our like main party, so he gets a everybody is their own main character vibe, as well as he does a collaboration in with Dakota Kraut for the WW or Wolfman
Yes.
Warlock. And yeah,
Yes.
he is very good at collaborations. I thoroughly enjoy the world.
It's always nice when you find an author that you really enjoy and they publish multiple books a year. For those of us who spend way too much money on audiobooks, and you're like, I just want to binge this dude. And then there are authors like George R.R. Martin, where I literally started with his series. My first 6 audiobooks I ever got was the Game of Thrones, and I have now literally purchased over 700 audiobooks since. And granted, 2 of those were from him, but it wasn't a continuation of the series that we were all waiting for. But hey, we're not bitter. We're not talking about that. VGO will probably conclude before we get the end to the Game of Thrones.
I thought I already did.
That's the TV series. They broke away from the books. Oh, VGO? The series is already done?
I guess don't quote me on it, but everybody, because I was looking through his reading order and it said finish VGO and then go to the side quests.
Maybe that's with just current publication. We'll research that and let you guys know next live stream. Not next Sunday, but the Sunday after that, August 22nd, 5 p.m. Eastern. Can't say it enough. We appreciate all you guys who show up and hang out with us. Not sure about you guys, but like this is the highlight of our week, coming into this nice little corner of the internet where we can geek out, talk about dragons, and goblins and all sorts of epic awesomeness. So thank you for taking the time to geek out with us every Sunday. Trying really hard to eventually get back to doing more live streams each week, just because there's so many freaking awesome books and series that we want to talk about with you guys. So
True.
thank you. Did I forget anything, Pete?
No, I feel like we wrapped up this book well. Excited about the stuff coming up. So thank you again for everybody joining us, catching us on the replay, and hope to geek out with you here soon. Bye.
Bye.